Today, I'm thrilled to have a very special guest with me, Ellie Shefi. Ellie is an accomplished attorney, an entrepreneur, a best-selling author, an international speaker, a strategist, consultant, a coach, a university dean, a mentor, a publisher, and a philanthropist who is on a mission to impact, inspire, and empower people and facilitate change. Ellie's journey is nothing short of inspiring. So let's dive right in and uncover her secrets behind the success and the mindset that she had to cultivate in order to get her to where she is at today. So, Ellie, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me and for that incredible introduction.
It is my pleasure. I appreciate you being here. And I'd really like to just start off with just getting to know you and having my audience get to know you. So, who is Ellie Shefi and how did Ellie Shefi become Ellie Shefi? So, if you can tell me a little bit about your journey, that would be amazing.
Absolutely. So you touched on the tip of the iceberg of the accolades, and we don't need to go into any more of the accolades because they don't convey the full picture.
Yeah.
So while the world knows me as all the things, all the things that you have shared, what they don't always know is that I'm also an abuse survivor, rape survivor, and domestic violence survivor. I've been homeless. I've lived in my car. I've eaten the food restaurants we're throwing away at the end of the night. I've had 13 major surgeries. I am a cancer survivor and a medical miracle. So when it comes to mindset and resiliency, that's how I was able to take all of the negative or traumatic life experiences and turn them into all of the accolades that you mentioned earlier. So it has been quite a journey.
It sure has. Yeah. And honestly, like I've not read a story of any other person who has gone through the level of struggle and hardship that you've come through. And you come here today with a huge smile on your face and you're just glowing. And that's incredible because Ellie, like a lot of people have gone through struggle, but most don't end up on the other side doing what you're doing, right? And what you do right now, actually, I don't want to steal your thunder. I want you to tell us what it is that you do because honestly, it's incredible. It is absolutely mind boggling. So please tell us what it is that you do.
Oh, thank you so much. So I have a couple of different veins. One, I work with organizations to help them optimize their operations and mitigate their risk and really build aligned, inclusive, modern company cultures. Then I also work with 6, 7, to 8 figure entrepreneurs as a strategist to really help them build their business and their brand strategically, optimally. And then I work with individuals to get their book written in a week or less, and then be able to take their book and use it to build their brand, build their business, share their story, get featured in media, speak on stages. So, the three different buckets, but the through line in all of it is really kind of that power of owning your voice, owning your story, leading from that place of authenticity and vulnerability, and using what makes you you, which is your story, which is your good and bad experiences, right? It's all of the life experiences that you have that make you you, and the world is waiting for you. So you got to get out there and share your story and your message. And so I love what you're doing with helping people with their mindset so they can get out of their own way and step into their power so they can use their voice for the increasing their impact and their income and sharing their message and really step into the full embodiment of who they are.
I love that. I love that, Ellie. And I absolutely 100% agree with you. I think that we really underestimate the power of our story because we think that it's nothing special, right? Which extends itself to us feeling like we're not special or who am I, right? Like we start having those limiting beliefs take hold of us. We start having imposter syndrome, right? Who am I? How could I? Like we
Yep.
see that that it is possible to achieve success. People can achieve success, but maybe not me, right? Maybe
Yep.
I can't. I don't have what it takes. And I think that's why also I ended up specializing in the field of mindset because I think for me, I think that was the biggest thing that held me back, right? It was that, because of my circumstances, I ended up with this fixed, limiting mindset that really had me going nowhere, but maybe like,
Yeah.
depression, anxiety, and, like that sort of snowballs away from your purpose, away from your voice, away from what you're called to do.
Yeah.
And coming back to just, being able to kind of take hold of your mindset. What has been like in your professional and personal capacity? What do you think is holding people back the most in terms of pursuing their purpose and their passion and like letting that voice shine through?
A couple of things. One, conditioning, right? The conditioning of their experience, the conditioning of their family, the conditioning of social media, the conditioning of society, the conditioning of their upbringing, right? Any of the external factors. And when we define our internal based on the external, or
Mhm.
when we absorb the external and internalize it,
Yeah.
then we're giving our power away. Then we let all of these external circumstances or events or labels and conditioning define us. And we then work often in a little box. We work to conform to the label, we work to conform to the expectation, to
Um,
the belief that we have. And when we're able to shed the external and actually come home to yourself so that you get to take back your power, you get to decide who you want to be in that moment, how you want to show up in that moment from that place of aligned authenticity, then there are no more limitations because you realize that you actually hold the power. And yes, some things might take practice and some things might uh, take time, right? Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. You don't go to the end of the marathon by blinking your eyes, but it's all possible. And it's all this incredible sense of aliveness and purpose and passion and mission when we shed the external. So I think one of the biggest things is being controlled by the external and taking on, the those labels and belief. I think another thing is our self-sabotage, our good friend the saboteur, that comes from fear. Right? So often, uh, Mr. Saboteur shows up right on the verge of a breakthrough, right? And so we get in our own way because it's not only the fear of failure, but it's the fear of success, right? I think another thing that holds people back is perfectionism, which is the ultimate excuse, people. It is the ultimate excuse because there is no such thing as being perfect. So if we're waiting for something to be perfect, it gives us the excuse to never do it. So then we never actually have to take the action or take the risk or put ourselves out there or be vulnerable or any of the things because we just don't do anything
right.
because it's not perfect and we gave ourselves an out.
Yes.
And I think the last really big thing that holds people back is um, not just fear that we've talked about, but comparison. right? You touched on it a little bit with imposter syndrome. I celebrate imposter syndrome. Every single person out there has it. If anyone tells you that they don't ever have imposter syndrome, they're lying or
I,
delusional. Because imposter syndrome, I celebrate it because it means, hallelujah, you're moving to a new level. You're doing something you haven't done before, right? But at one point, every single thing we've ever done is something we hadn't done before. At some point, everything was new. So you just do it and you learn and you make some mistakes and you stumble and you get up and you learn from it and you keep on going, right? So I think imposter syndrome, right? And that imposter syndrome can really come up in comparison. And you
Mhm.
kind of also touched on it with earlier when you said you really haven't seen or heard of anyone with all the stuff that I've gone through. And I hear that a lot. And I always like to stop people with that and say, well, trauma is trauma, pain is pain, fear is fear. It's not more or less or better or worse. The physiological response that happens in your body, if you think the bear is going to eat you, is the same whether it's a bear cub, a family of bears, a mama bear, a daddy bear, like, or no bear, right? If the physiological biochemical reaction is the same. So
Right.
it's not, you've had all this trauma and my life's been great in comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. It will stop us in our tracks. So those are just some of the biggest things that I think are really holding people back.
I agree, and I think I would definitely resonate with the belief of perfectionism. I think I struggled with that for a very, very long time. And you're right, it's an out. It's I give myself permission to not jump yet because I'm just not ready, right? It's not right. It's not perfect. It's not just quite how I want it to be. And you can stay stuck in that, right? Like for me, it was like, I need, certification. I need to learn more. I need more podcasts. I got to read more books, and it's all in the not doing. And as that
Exactly.
saying goes, is like perfectionism is the enemy of execution, right? Because
Yes.
there's no such thing as perfectionism. And I guess I'm curious as to, okay, yes, we know that there are these limiting beliefs. We know these things that hold people back, entrepreneurs, people who are building companies, or people who are going at it on their own, writing a book, speaking engagements. But like, what are some reframes, some mindset shifts that you've made in your life that have taken a struggle or a challenge and flipped it into an opportunity?
Yeah, so there have been two big ones. They both came from Tony Robbins. I both heard them on a late night infomercial when I was about 10. So, and they ultimately both changed my life. They are literally what were my North Stars that allowed me to navigate all of the stuff that I've ever walked through. So the first was life happens for me, not to me. And that is such an incredibly powerful reframe, because if life is always happening for you, you're not a victim, there's no pity party, there's no woe is me, there's no anger. Why is this happening to me? It's not happening to me, it's happening for me. So that provides an incredible opportunity for me to then find the lesson, find the blessing, find the growth. And what we focus on, we find. And so it allows me to shift my focus to the lesson, the blessing, the growth, which then allows me to find the lesson, the blessing, and the growth. And I'm no longer focused on the trauma or the pain or, whatever the case may be. So life happens for you, not to you,
So powerful.
has been the most powerful thing. The second one,
Okay.
again, I learned it from Tony Robbins, was change your story, change your life. And so, what he means by change your story is we cannot control the external, right? We just can't. We can't control if there's COVID. We can't control if there's war. We can't control if there's inflation. But what we can control is how we respond to it. What we can control is the language that we use when we are speaking about the events and circumstances. We can control the meaning that we ascribe to things, and we can control the perspective that we hold. And so those are things that no matter what's going on in the world, I get to control my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions. I get to control the language I use, the meaning I give things, and the perspective I hold. And through those things, I'm able to control my mindset. I'm able to regulate my emotions. I'm able to calm my nervous system. I'm able to show up powerfully no matter what's going on. I'm able to smile and be joyful and radiate through anything that's happening because I'm in control of the internal.
Absolutely. I think that the secret to living successfully and happily and fulfilled is truly an inner game.
Yep.
It really, really is. To be able to really take control of your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, because those are driving your behaviors, your actions, and your results. Like everything starts from the inside. How much do you think people are just like maybe not as self-aware about their inner game? Like, do you think most entrepreneurs are self-aware on their inner game, or do you think they mainly focus on the outer game?
I think by and large, the
Yeah.
truly successful people, for the
Mhm.
most part, are very self-aware.
Yeah.
Truly successful people, for the most part, have done the work. They understand that to be an effective leader, to be able to lead others, their teams, their companies, their organization, they have to be able to lead themselves. They understand that in order to be able to connect with their ideal client avatar, their right fit clients, and in order to be able to cultivate that emotional connection, the know, like, and trust factor, they have to be able to do it within themselves. And so truly successful entrepreneurs, by and large, work with coaches themselves, right? Everybody's got a coach. I've got my own coaches, my own strategists. Heck, even presidents have advisory councils, right? Everybody has, successful people have coaches. The coaches can reflect back, they can be a mirror, they can help you see your blind spots, they can help you become even more self-aware. And you have to have the finger on the pulse of yourself. You have to know what motivates you. You have to know what sucks the air out of you, the life out of you. You have to know how to kick your own butt. You have to know how to call yourself out so that you don't believe the stories that that little inner critic or the little voice can say to us. You learn by doing the work, right? By exploring. And one of the things that I've found is truly successful entrepreneurs maintain the curiosity, the same curiosity they have to problem solve, to innovate, to build a business, to find a solution to a crisis that's happening in the world, to invent something, to, whatever their products or services are. They bring that same level of curiosity to themselves. And so the exploration of the internal is done with curiosity, not judgment.
Or shame.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. The curiosity that you have for the work that you're doing in your business and in your journey, have that same curiosity and turn it inwards.
Yeah.
I've not heard that before, but that is beautiful and rings so true because it's the questions that we ask that give us our answers, right? It's the questions that we ask ourselves. And one of the big things that I've always been fascinated by through my mindset training is like it's the questions and the thoughts that we have. Why is it that we think because we came up with this thought in our heads that it's true, right? Like, why don't we question our thoughts more often and say, hey, like that's a thought, and yes, it is mine, but is it real? Is it true?
Yeah.
Because I heard this thing once that said, like, when something happens to you and then you create a narrative or a story about what happened, more than half of that story is usually not even true, right? But like we believe we created the narrative and then we believe the narrative, right?
And that goes back to changing your story, changing your life, right? Changing that narrative. What story are you telling yourself? Is it true? How much of it is true? Where is it coming from? Is it serving you? Is it truly yours? Or is it your mom's voice in your head? Is it an Instagram ad that got to you? Is it a TV show that you saw? Is it an ex-partner who said something to you?
Mhm.
Is it really, truly you? And one of the best filters for that is if it is negative, it's not actually from you. It's from a limiting belief. It's from a program. It's from a fear. It is not from your divine essence, because your divine essence does not speak to you in blame or guilt or shame or judgment or negativity. Your divine essence does not speak to you to put you down or to limit you.
So
So
it's your conditioning or your environment.
exactly. If that's what you're hearing, it's not you. It's programming, it's beliefs, it's conditioning. But the beautiful thing about that is then it can be changed. You can let that go. You can release those beliefs. You can release that conditioning. You can come home to yourself. You're not stuck with it. You may choose it. You may subconsciously, unconsciously, or consciously choose it, but you're not stuck with it. It's a choice.
I agree 100%. It is definitely a choice. And I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that we actually have a choice.
Yep.
We have the ability to choose. So I love it when you say that, your divine essence is never going to tell you something negative about yourself, right? And to have that ability to really just like come home to yourself. How, if someone is struggling with, negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, like telling themselves a story that's just disempowering them, how do we begin to give them the tactical steps or strategies to really start to shed some of those thoughts and beliefs and really start coming back home to self?
I used sticky notes.
Ah,
I used sticky notes. So
what
when
is
I was training myself, right, reprogramming my own thoughts and feelings and emotions, rewriting the stories I had told myself about the abuse and the rapes and the domestic violence and all the things, right? Taking back my power, deciding for myself who I wanted to be, how I wanted to show up. Sticky notes were my best friend, because when you're starting to make that change, anytime you tell yourself, I'm beautiful, I'm amazing, you're going to have, if that's a new paradigm for you, you're going to have everything in you go, BS. I don't think so.
yeah.
And it's going to be like this visceral reaction, right? Because up until that moment, it hadn't been something that you were saying to yourself. It hadn't been a reality for you. It hadn't been a narrative for you. So your mind, your body, your spirit's like, I don't think so. So the sticky notes, I put them everywhere. I put them on my car dashboard. I put them on the coffee pot. I put them on the microwave. I put them in the silverware drawer. I'd put them inside the fridge. I'd put them in the closet. I'd put them on the mirror. I'd put them on my laptop. I would literally put them anywhere I was going to be so that I would visually be seeing them. And then I would have myself actually say it out loud. And I
Mhm.
would say it out loud because then I'm involving my physiology. So I'm seeing it, I'm speaking it, which allows me to hear it. And the more senses you can involve, the faster you can shift things. Right.
Ah,
And so by having the sticky notes everywhere, I did not allow myself to stop changing my narrative because they were everywhere. I couldn't look anywhere without there being sticky notes,
reminders. I love
reminders,
that.
right, of my power, of my authenticity, of all the different things. I mean, I started with worthiness, right? When you have a lifetime of trauma and abuse, at the core, there's I'm not worthy, I don't deserve, blah, blah, not lovable, yada, 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 right? And so those are really, really fundamental limiting beliefs. I don't care how much work you do on other beliefs, if at the core you don't believe worthy of love, worthy of abundance, worthy of success, worthy of a relationship, worthy of health, then no matter what else you do, it's not going to come. So, worthiness is absolute fundamental core. It is one of the most challenging to truly reprogram, unless you're really little, right? But those of us catching it at this stage of life, but it can be done. It's just repetition, and it's feeling, saying it, seeing it, hearing it, and feeling what would it feel like to feel worthy, right? What would that feel like to be loved unconditionally? What do I imagine it would feel like to be in the ultimate relationship? What do I imagine it would feel like to be able to pay cash for a house,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
actually embodying it, feeling it, putting yourselves in there, but start with worthiness. It's a big, hairy, scary monster. Dive in, just rip off the band-aid. You can do it. Rip off the band-aid, start there, and then all the rest of the shifts are much easier and faster to accomplish.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think that like in what you're saying of like, like feel that future. I think as we feel that future, we start to familiarize ourselves. It no longer becomes foreign, right? Because you talked earlier about this whole concept of we self-sabotage, right? As soon as we start feeling like, oh, that's not me, that's not for me, I'm gonna start backtracking. I'm gonna start, I'm gonna do something that is gonna get me back to where I'm comfortable, right? And so bringing that future closer to us by just imagining and envisioning what it would be like to already be there. That's how we bring our future into our present. It's really starting with how are we being,
Yeah,
right? What are we experiencing, and can we experience it before it actually comes into our existence? And I think absolutely yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And to that your point, when it comes to worthiness, to start to bring that in, what are your self-care practices? Look around what's in your routine. Look around what's in your environment. Do you have an outfit that makes you feel beautiful? Or have you not bought it yet because you haven't felt worthy of it?
Mm.
Do you have a pillowcase that you love? You don't have to start big, but if you're struggling, if your sheets are 20 years old, maybe there's some worthiness there. You could buy a silk pillowcase and see how that feels. The richness of the fabric, how it feels on your skin. You are worthy of these kind of experiences. You are worthy of that bubble bath. So you can absolutely bring in these small experiences like you're talking about to bring that future in, to bring in the embodiment of worthiness and self-love so that it can then be reflected externally in your health, your relationships, your business, your finances, your environment.
Beautiful, Ellie. You know what? Yeah, I think you've just connected something for me today. And it's if you want to have self worth, you want to prove your worthiness, what are you doing to show yourself self love?
Yeah,
That self love translates into self worth. Oh, that is a huge connector for me today because I think I've done things previously over the years where perhaps I haven't done those self love rituals, right? Like seeing something and say it's very expensive, and I think, oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't spend that on myself. I've got kids, I got to spend on them, Like, and I would tell myself these things like, no, you're not first, you're last, right? And of course, like, in looking back now, I'm realizing, wow, like I never put in the deposits of self love.
Exactly.
And how can
Exactly.
you have that self-worth, right? How do you build that self-respect, that self-belief in who you are and what you're here to do if you've never actually put in the work, right? Like we spend so much time loving on others, but how often and how much of that time are we spending loving on ourselves,
Yeah.
right? So that's, yeah, that is so beautiful. Thank you for that. Even mindset coaches sometimes can have breakthroughs.
Everybody has a coach.
Yeah, and it's not because they need one, but it's because they want one. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I want someone to show me my blind spots. I like a while ago, I like last year, I was thinking like I was feeling embarrassed. Like, wow, I'm a mindset coach, and I'm starting to feel embarrassed when I don't see one of my blind spots because I work with people to show them their blind spots or help show, and I'm like, and then I can't see my own. But then it's like, and that's when, you know what, you have to catch yourself and you have to be like, okay, that is me shaming myself, right? Well, you know what, I am not exempt from the human experience. We all have,
Thankfully.
thankfully,
Thankfully.
yes. We all have them, and that's okay, right? Like that's where we get to empower ourselves with our curiosity,
Yeah.
and like, why is that? And it's nice when people can help you,
Yeah.
so show you your blind spots, that they're there for a reason, and that everybody has them. So
Yeah.
I think that
And
that's, yeah.
yeah, and success takes a village, right? I mean, nobody goes it alone. So being able to have a coach or have a community or a mentor or something where you can reflect, you can ask questions, you can be curious, you can be vulnerable, where it's a safe space without judgment and blame and shame and all of that, to just go, huh, interesting. This was coming up for me today. And it doesn't usually show up. So I I wonder what breakthrough is about to happen. I wonder what I'm not seeing. I wonder where my next level of growth is. And what's the message that is trying to be birthed through me through this hiccup or this uh, situation that doesn't usually rear its head. Why is it rearing its head now? Have I slept? Have I taken care of myself? Have I exercised? Am I hydrated? Have I been eating well? Is something going on with a loved one? Oh no, all of those are check, 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 check. Oh, fun. So another thing Tony Robbins taught me is to look at it as a worthy opponent.
Oh,
A worthy opponent. This is a
yeah.
new one. I want to dive in and I want to see and I want to explore and again from that playful curiosity and that place of a worthy opponent. Yeah. Makes
Yeah,
it
that's good. That's good. And it's friendly too.
it's
you know,
friendly. It's so much better than beating yourself up over, whoa, I thought I resolved this. I've been working on this. I thought, I had it in the bag and now here we are and there's imposter syndrome again or fear or, perfectionism or whatever the case may be, instead of just, a worthy opponent.
yeah, exactly. And one thing that I love is that, like I'm definitely, I would say, a personal development addict. Like I absolutely eat that stuff up. Tony Robbins and all the personal development folks, like I love that stuff. And I think I love it so much because I probably see myself in that world.
Yeah,
Like, sometimes you admire these people, but then you're admiring them because you recognize that there's a piece of yourself that's in them and you recognize
absolutely.
that, right?
Absolutely.
And like what I really love about personal development is that like we're actually never really done. right?
Never.
Like it's never ever a destination, and that feels good. That doesn't make me feel like I'm not there yet. In knowing that I'll never be there, and it's always going to be that incremental progress, that's iterative. I
Yeah.
love that because it makes me feel like I'm not trying to get to a destination. I'm just trying to get better.
Journey.
Yeah.
The magic's in the journey, right? The beauty's in the journey. It's not a destination. We don't want to get to the destination. That means you're 6 feet under. Like
I was
we want to
saying for
enjoy
that.
learn and grow and play and explore and have a deeper connection with this human experience.
And yes, exactly. And speaking of that, that's kind of where I want to go next because, like, for me, I feel so called to serve. Like, I feel like I'm here because there's a purpose. My voice is speaking to someone that needs to hear what I have to say, that relates to the journey that I've overcome and, where I am and where I'm going and how I'm thinking and how I'm connecting. So, personally, for me, I think to really be authentic is really to be in your power, to just be yourself and be okay when it resonates with some and it doesn't resonate with others because you're built to serve those who need you,
Yep.
right?
And be thankful that you don't resonate with everyone.
Yes,
If you
absolutely.
have ever tried to work with someone that is not a right fit client,
Oh yes.
it is not it is not fun. It is not worth the money. It is not, no. You want to live in ease and flow and joy, and you want to cultivate that and put yourself in the best possible situation and positions to experience ease and flow and joy, and that does not happen when you're trying to put a round peg in a square hole. So be so excited when there's a recognition that somebody is not for you or you are not for them. You're like,
Yeah, 100% agree. And like I've found more recently that I've joined a tribe of thought leaders. I feel like, wow, for the first time, I'm actually not scared to say what I think,
yeah,
right? Like I feel like I've flown really under the radar most of my life. And probably because I've never felt like right? But then you start to meet your people or your tribe and you realize, wow, I'm actually more motivated
yeah,
to bring my thoughts up and share what I'm feeling. And then what I realize is when you actually do end up connecting with your vibe, as they say, your vibe attracts your tribe.
yep,
When you start connecting with those people, they will reaffirm to you that you are on the right path, that what you're saying is actually resonating. You're, like it's landing because it doesn't, most of your life you go through, being yourself, but then it doesn't land. And then you try to hide yourself, right? Okay, well, what do people want me to do or be or say, right? And then when you actually end up finding the people that are there to support you and uplift you and help you, it feels so empowering where it's like, yeah, you know what? This is my voice. It matters, and other people are showing you that your voice matters. So when you come across someone, say, who wants to write a book, become a speaker, share their message, connect with others, what do you do to get them to muster up the courage to put themselves out there and make it happen?
yeah. So for me, it's actually really, really easy. I'm kind of a master at creating safe spaces because I do 1000% believe that every single person has a message to share. Every single person has a story to share that is uniquely their own. Every single person has a unique path that they have walked that has given them a wisdom that nobody else has, that only they can share because it's cultivated by their specific life experiences.
You're
And
right.
someone in the world is waiting for you to show up as you. Someone in the world is waiting for you to share your unique experiences, right? Someone is waiting for you to shine your light, to light the path for them. And
Mm,
so when you understand that there is no right or wrong, there's just sharing you, And you work with someone who gives you a framework. So I have a very specific framework and process, which is how people get their book written in a week. They come out here, we get it done. They have their business plan done, their monetization plan, their launch plan, their promotional strategy, and their book done in a week. And that's because we're able to start with pulling out what are those experiences that they want to share with the world. What is the message that cannot die within them, that is yearning to be birthed out into the world, that must be shared? And then who needs to hear it? Who are their ideal clients, right? What are their ideal clients' hopes and dreams and fears? Where are they, and what do they want, and what do they really want, and what's important to them? And so we kind of dive into each of my clients' personal values, their business values. We make sure they're nice and aligned, because you have one life on this earth. You do not have a business life and a professional life. You have one life. Let's make them cohesive and coherent. So we start with that. And then from there, build out, the client profiles, and build out the business plan, the profit pyramid, all the different offerings. And when we're super clear on that, and you know what your message is, and who you want to serve, and what they need, and how you want to serve them, then being able to take that and go through a specific framework to turn all of that into a book, totally simple and easy. So it's just, having someone guide you through the process, walking you through, making it nice and clear and easy, taking out any kind of complexity or overwhelm, and just walking you through it.
Yeah, I think that what you offer is very much needed, because I think most people get caught spinning their wheels, or
Yep.
doing things in the wrong order, and never building any traction, or running out of money, or having, like I just think of all the people who like want to say leave their job to pursue their passion, to do something that's meaningful and impactful and that contributes to the world in some, special way. But then they don't get aligned with the right people at the right time to make things happen. Because as you mentioned, like, success takes a village. Like, no one person can do it alone. So
No.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I think it's it's the the beauty is, if you can take something super complex and make it super simple, and then it's transferable from one person to another. This is how we get to a book in a week, right? And everything you mentioned is so important. Even if you were to say launch a coaching business, you need to know who is your ideal client avatar. What do they want? What do they need? What are their pain points? What do you have that they actually want and you can offer them? Like, that is the same kind of thought process that you get to, right? People want to know that you can get them results, right? Those results that you're creating, you can create for them.
Yep.
So that's super, super important. I think that's one of the things I really like about what you offer is, helping people really get their story into a book and out into the world. And I think, like, I work very closely with Evan Carmichael. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
you must know him. He's a
Yeah.
wonderful human being. And what resonated most with me when I decided to work with him is that I actually connected with him, before he ever met me, just because I find that intuitively, I just know when you're being completely authentic and open, and your heart's open, and you have these amazing intentions to help serve and impact people. Like, that's beautiful. And I don't know you, I don't think that you can, like, that's not something that can just be created out of thin air. Like, you have something really deep down in your heart, and you truly, truly want to get it out there, right? You have good intentions. You want to help people. And that's how I feel about you too, Ellie. And reviewing your, like, when I was going through your Instagram and your website, and I was just thinking, wow, like, we need more Ellies and Evans. We need these people to really, like, not just inspire, but empower. Like,
Yeah.
the work that you do actually helps people, get the idea out of their head and a book in their hand that they can start, serving people with. And I think that that's That's so important. It's like you're the connector. You connect people, you connect people to their mission, their vision, their purpose, and you get what's in their heart out into the world. And I think that, Evan does the same thing, right? Through his thought leadership programs. It's like, how do we establish an environment where you can actually thrive, where you're supported, where we give you that guidance and help? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they need that, right? Like I remember myself spending a lot of time not knowing, like, well, how do you do this? What's the next step? And then you start to get discouraged because you don't see anything changing and there's no progress and you're kind of going backwards, and then you start self-doubting, right?
Yep. All the things, right? The
Right.
beautiful learning curve. And
Oh,
that's part of the beauty of being in communities like
yes.
you are, of having coaches and mentors and being part of thought leadership communities or entrepreneurship communities, right? You find someone who's aligned with you, exactly what you're talking about, who's further in the journey, who can say, here, come on, I'll show you. No, 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 don't do that. That's a landmine. Don't do that. Come here, come here, come here, come here. Here, this is how the algorithm's working now. Or, here's your next step. Here's how you edit a page in Kajabi. Like, don't worry about it. I got you. Come on, let's hop on a call, right? You put yourself into proximity with people who can allow you to go further, faster, with greater clarity and ease, who allow you to avoid costly mistakes. You can get your message to the world faster, you can build your business faster, you can serve more people, you can actually step into your full power and your mission and your vision and live that life that you are called to live
Mhm.
so much faster and easier by being in proximity with people who've already done it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that what you just said is exactly what I've experienced,
Yep.
is you really need to get into proximity of people who have walked your path and are further along and have the heart, and like they have that service leadership in them where they actually want to help you,
Yeah.
like genuinely that they feel called to help you, because they want you to get your message out. And I think that, like, that's just like such selfless leadership. It's really beautiful, and it's inspiring, right? It, like, for me, it makes me want to do that for someone else,
Yeah.
right? Like, help them find their voice, help them find their path, help them find their tribe. I think
Yeah.
that you're right. It's about getting in the right environment of people who will align with what you're trying to do.
Yep. Yeah. If you plant a seed in dry, desert, barren soil by itself and leave it there, it's not going to sprout, right? So the seed will sprout much faster when
Mhm.
it's in the soil with the right balance of nutrients, when it's nurtured, when it's watered and loved, and the sun. And so it's the same thing. Where are you planting your seed? Are you being very intentional with who you spend your time with, who you align with, the inputs that are coming in? Are you intentional with the conversations that you have, with the media that you take in, with the TV that you watch, with the books that you read,
Mhm.
right? Are you intentional with putting things in that nurture you, that feed your mind and soul, that align you with your tribe?
Oh
Right?
my gosh.
It's such an easy thing that we can do to have radical shift in our mind, body, and spirit. And so many people don't even think about it. They just mindlessly scroll, or they mindlessly watch TV, or they mindlessly watch the news, or read a certain magazine or whatever, not consciously choosing, is this feeding me?
Yeah.
Is this nourishing me? Is this moving me in the direction of my vision, my mission, my dreams? Do I feel more alive and more joyful when I watch this show, when I read this book, when I look on this Instagram account? Or do I feel embarrassed? Do I feel jealous? Do I feel angry? Do I feel resentful? Do I feel frustrated? Right? Our body tells us whether something is nurturing for us or not. It's, are we paying attention? Are we listening to the messages that we get of our emotions, of our thoughts?
Oh, yeah. And that takes us right back to what we chatted about at the beginning, which is self-awareness,
Yeah,
right? And the most successful people are highly self-aware
yeah,
of their thoughts, of their emotions, like absolutely. And also, it's what you mentioned, we have control over, right? We have control over what's coming into our minds, what's coming into our bodies, what's coming into our thoughts, right? Like the shows, the mindless scrolling, like it's all those things I think are there to help us forget who we actually really are, right? Like when
exactly.
we're doing all that
Exactly right.
stuff, we're just busy doing nothing, right? Like, and it's okay to have that. Like for me, I'll be like, okay, the next 30 minutes, I'm gonna eat breakfast and like watch a reality show. But that's it. That 30 minutes is done. I don't care if the show's not done. I turn it off and I get to what I really want to be doing because I think our brains do need that time to kind of decompress and just do some mindless activity sometimes, especially when we're so intense and we're so driven and we have a goal and we're forging forward full force. And so I think it is good, but I think what's not good is when we can't actually control it. Or if one show leads to another, it leads to a binge watch series. And like you know, that can take control over me. I'll tell you. Did you know that your DNA can actually determine whether you're a binge watcher or a binge eater? Or it's actually in our gene expression. It's amazing. I did a DNA report, and the DNA report literally was like, "You are the prime candidate for binge eating and binge watching." And it's true. Like if I don't have like strict rules for myself, I'll get hooked, right? And that's the problem. I think people tend to get hooked very, very easily. And it's easy to get hooked. It's an age of digital distraction, right? Like
Yeah,
everything is wanting your attention. Everything.
yeah,
and and it's always at your fingertips. So
yeah.
would be some strategies that you would recommend for people to really get focused into
So
what it is?
there's,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a couple of things. I mean, you mentioned you set your timer, right? You tell yourself 30 minutes and that's it. Time blocking, chunking is another really powerful thing. I will run all the errands at the same time. Not, I'm gonna run this errand and then come home and then go back out and then come home and go back out. I'm gonna do it all at once. If there's any chores to be done around the house, laundry, cleaning, nope, I'm doing all that together so that when it's done, it's done. When I'm working on any kind of legal cases, that's all I'm doing. And I will do that until it's done. And when I'm working with a private advisory client, that's all I'm doing until that's done, right? It's being, we'd like to think we can multitask. And I am a queen multitasker in terms of I can be on a call and answering emails and sending texts. I can 100% do that. But it is, and science has proven this, it is not nearly as effective as if you chunk your time. If you say, this is my 30 minutes to answer emails, and then this is my 30 minutes to work on copy, and this is 30 minutes that I'm going to do client outreach or business development or
Mhm.
nurturing relationships,
Mhm.
right? And this is my 30 minutes of self-care, whether that's meditation, whether it's a bubble bath, whether it's watching mindless TV, whatever that looks like for you, but being very intentional about how we are spending our time and grouping like things together. It allows the brain to actually focus on the thing until completion and then shift gears and focus on a new thing. The amount of productivity we lose for our brain to shift from that to this, back to that, back to this, back to this, over to here, down to here. Yes, women, our brain, an information superhighway.
True.
Totally true. However, we can be kind to it and allow it to work even more efficiently by time chunking
Yeah.
and by taking frequent breaks. So it seems so counterintuitive of like, oh, I need to focus, I need to do this thing. And we sit at the computer for 10 hours and wonder why we didn't get as much done. As
Guilty.
opposed to, yeah, getting up, taking a walk, going outside, even for 5 minutes, getting up, a good strategy if you live somewhere that doesn't have great weather. I live on the ocean, so I can just look outside. It's amazing. But if you're somewhere where you don't have that, put on your favorite song, one song. It's 3.5 minutes. Have a little dance party or sing, sing your heart out or whatever that looks like. But find moments of break, moments to recharge, moments to move your body, get your blood flowing, get the oxygen flowing, re-engage. Then you're going to be able to come back and actually focus much more powerfully, a lot more clarity, because your blood was really moving. It was oxygenating your system. Your brain's got oxygen. You're hydrating with water, and you're moving your body. Right? Then you can come back and focus.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's and I find like for myself, I think I'm still working on that one because you can just totally get lost in what you're doing. And then like 2.5, 3 hours later, why am I so tired? Right. And it's like, well, you didn't give your body a break. I mean, I think like at least every hour, take at least 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes to kind of just reset. And I love that idea of like just dance. I do find like if I get up and I'm dancing or like I'm moving my energy, right? Like you're changing the way you're feeling when you're doing something completely different and trying to move your body. I think like, I'm most energized when I leave the gym. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I'm on top of the world, and it's a feeling that gets addictive because it's like, you want to go to the gym every single day, but of course I can't. I'd love to, but there's just no way I could fit it all in. But like, yeah, no, I totally agree. Taking those breaks actually helps with productivity rather than just continuously task switching and exhausting our minds.
Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Ellie, I want to ask you this one last question. So if you were to meet someone on the street and you wanted to help them, find their voice, right? Have the confidence to find their voice and use their voice to help others, what would you need to tell them to move them closer to being more in alignment with their purpose?
I would look them square in the eyes.
Yeah.
And I would say, hey, you matter.
Mhm.
Your voice matters. Your message matters. Your life matters. You have something to offer this world that no one else can offer. So shine your light, be unapologetically you, and always, always remember that you matter.
Wow. Wow. I love it. And I love how in alignment you are with your purpose and your message. It's beautiful. Ellie, thank you so much. This was an incredible, incredible chat. Now, where can people find you if they want to see, what it is that you do or read up on some of your programs?
Yeah, so you can always send me a message on social media. I'm Ellie Shefi, so just first name and last name across all the platforms. You can binge watch YouTube videos on the YouTube channel, or of course you can connect with me on my website, ellieshefi.com.
Thank you, Ellie. Thank you for sharing your time, for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your energy. I think that this was such a beautiful, beautiful chat. I think that, everybody should go out and look up Ellie. She's an incredible person and a beautiful inspiration to everybody. Thank you so much, Ellie. Thank you.